And it begins with, just dust it off. And we still have not escaped news tied to Michigan and Connor Stallions. And another season will start with a Michigan coach having to pick and choose a suspension, self-imposed, of course. But this self-imposed suspension conveniently going to be for games number 3 and games number 4 for Sherrone Moore in advance of the extracurricular scouting penalties, the war that they are fighting with the NCAA. Tom, I know you wrote about this for CBSSports.com. Central Michigan and Nebraska will not face Sherrone Moore, but New Mexico and Oklahoma will. Okay. What do we mean? What do we take away from this suspension?
My biggest takeaway was one they wouldn't let me write.
They didn't let you write the thing about Nebraska?
No, I put a joke in the column about it, but like, if you're Nebraska, how do you feel about that? Like, Michigan cares so much about this that they're just picking and choosing which games to suspend him for. And they're like, we don't need him for the Nebraska game. So
Central, you're on the same level as Central Michigan.
Yeah.
New Mexico needs Sherrone Moore, but at Nebraska in Lincoln doesn't. Yeah. You thought you were on the way back.
I know. Like, you sit there, you fancy yourself like a national title contending program, but the team that actually won the national title 2 years ago is like, we don't need our coach for that game. But I wrote, and I've become the main character on Ohio State Twitter because of it. I just hope this is the end of it, because I don't care anymore. Like, everybody that was involved with this is gone. Like, they won the national title. Harbaugh's gone. He's got a 4-year show cause. This is like the 5th suspension that they've had in the last 2 seasons of their or 3 seasons now of their head coaches. They clearly care so much that they're like, we'll suspend him for 2 games, but not these games. So it's like Michigan's just trying to appease the NCAA to just, okay, here we go. Can we freaking move on? And I just feel like the NCAA has far bigger fish to fry right now. Like, the future of your sport, like, maybe spend more time trying to figure out how to navigate the current waters you find yourself in than spending any more time trying to find a way to punish Michigan for something that happened a few years ago. And that really pissed off a lot of Ohio State fans.
Why?
Because 15 years ago, Chip, when you and I were just bloggers and our job was to aggregate, Sports Illustrated released a story about Jim Tressel, and the tattoo gate, which was one of the dumbest controversies of all time. And it was a 4,000-word story. And our job at the time was to take those 4,000-word stories and turn them into 500-word stories so people didn't have to read the whole thing. So I aggregated that Sports Illustrated story, and Ohio State fans, the ones that spend their time on QAnon and then took a couple times to go over to Bucknuts or 11 Warriors, they found a screenshot of that, which was aggregated by another site, which wasn't even my article, but it references my article, which was aggregating the actual article from Sports Illustrated, and said, as Tom Fornelli wrote for CBSSports.com, and Ohio State fans turned that into, well, then why did you care so much about Jim Tressel? It's like, I didn't say anything about it. I thought it was stupid at the time, too. I've never, like, anybody who watches this show or listens to this show has a pretty good sense of how I feel about the NCAA and these penalties. So, yeah, Ohio State fans have been very, very, very mad at me the last few days.
Boys,
for no reason. This whole thing is so dumb.
Yes.
Like, it's really stupid. It perfectly summarizes how dysfunctional our sport is and the legislating body that tries to wield its power. It feels like, is this the swan song for the NCAA? Like, is this their last hurrah that on June 6th and 7th?
There you go. I was about to say,
and announce this punishment, and they're going to, like, all of a sudden, hey, don't forget about us. It's so dumb. All of it's dumb, though. Michigan, suspending Sherrone Moore for games 3 and 4 is stupid. Like, all of it shows you the dysfunctionality of college football. Like, none of it makes any sense, but it's everything we're all too familiar with. I'm like, does anybody care? I just want to move past this. We already had these discussions, how much it helped, how much it didn't help. The Connor Stallion stuff, it's over. It's done. Like Tom said, a lot of people have already moved on. They're in the NFL. The players are in the NFL. The coaches in the NFL. Like, why are we still having to deal with this?
I mean, I was going to say bad news is June 6th and 7th is the court date. And there are people who are getting excited for that like they would the OJ trial.
I mean, they really State fans, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're just like, here comes the hammer. This is when it happens. Like this will be it. And I imagine, I can't remember exactly, but I imagine that there will be media covering that June 6th and 7th infractions case.
You think?
Imagine if we didn't have summer school. We would get like how many episodes out of it?
Do you think
We're
they
gonna have
will?
content
Like,
over the
do you think?
summer.
Do you think Pete Sam will be there at the courthouse? I don't know if anybody cares. You do.
I think, yeah. And I saw somebody make a comment like, "Oh boy, I wish they could put cameras in there for this one." And it's because
where is this being heard?
It's in Indianapolis, right?
Oh yeah, they'll send people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because Michigan has been defiant, right, at a lot of these turns, and so now it's become. Remember, it's not about the cheeseburger. So the NCAA versus Michigan is kind of what I see this as, and I too find it very stupid and very dumb. But I don't think we're free of it yet with this news.
I mean, it must be bad. You've seen the conspiracy theorists when the president is leaving. Santa Ono is going to Florida. He's getting out ahead of it before the hammer comes down. That's the other theory.
I know.
Do you know how many people move from Michigan to Florida every year? Like, are we sure we want to read into this?
Probably for a pay raise.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very interesting explanation of that offered to me that I hadn't really thought about, but there are a lot of places in universities across America right now where they are looking at sort of like the political infighting that's happening in their state or on their boards. And they're like, I don't want to do this. I'm out. And Michigan is a real hotbed, big spotlight on everything going on there. He might not only be dodging the hammer from the NCAA. He might be getting out of town. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's far more likely. Yes.
Yeah. So it's something that I think is probably a bigger factor than necessarily an NCAA punishment.